Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. If you are new to the channel, my name is Juan Londoño. Welcome. Today we're discussing an interesting topic, and that's the topic of when we actually know our stuff and our work still sucks. If you've watched our videos before, you know that we do product reviews, we've done a couple, and we do how-tos, and we're going to do a lot more of that. But we spend a lot of time analyzing photography and how it relates to our lives. One of the things we do as well is we try to improve our lives through photography, and we've also talked about improving our photography through our lives and what we do for a living and what we do every day. So if you've seen some of these videos before, I will argue with you that this is probably going to be one of the most important videos that treats these more abstract concepts. So stick around till the end, because this is when we're going to talk about 5 reasons, right, that I think our photography, and basically this applies to anything, but in this particular video, our photography. 5 reasons that I think it might suck right now, right, if you're not happy with it, and then how it applies to life and how we can correct all these other aspects of our life. So let's dive right in. We're going to start by discussing the different reasons why photography might not be going so well for us. And with each one that we cover, we're going to talk about the cure, basically, how to relieve that, how to take care of it, how to improve it. The first reason our photography might not be as good as we like is that we are overly critical of ourselves. Now, maybe we are this way about everything in life. There are people that are always critical of themselves no matter what they do. And the solution to this is very simple, right? We just have to, and I wrote it here, right? We have to learn to recognize this, and we need to give ourselves a break, right? You've got to break that habit. And some people get to the point where they even say, I'm so stupid. God, I'm so klutzy. God, I'm so bad at this. And what you're doing is you're reinforcing this negative behavior over and over again, right? We have to change the language. That's terrible. So the first thing we do is, if something is not as good as we like, recognize we're not perfect and say, you know what? I'm improving, right? I'm watching YouTube videos, I'm watching videos, I'm taking classes, you know, I'm doing everything I can, and I'm going to improve and I'm going to get better. There's nothing wrong with being, you know, at the place in life that we're supposed to be at. We just don't recognize this sometimes, right? We're on our way to excellence. I'm not going to say perfection, because that's, you know, kind of a fuzzy concept, but we're on our way to excellence. And to get there, it's going to take time. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep paying attention, keep learning, keep being aware of everything you do in photography, and you'll be fine. Another reason behind this, right, the being overly critical, is maybe we're spending too much time on social media, right? Some people spend way too much time looking at other people. Now, this is good in a way because it inspires us, motivates us, gives us ideas, but there's a negative side to this, right? You got to remember what people are posting. Sometimes these people are 30, 40 years into photography. Other people are highly editing their pictures. They'll post a picture every day, and it's highly edited. They'll spend half an hour editing the picture. If you're like me, I like to take a good picture so that I don't have to edit it to death, right? Now, there is fantasy photography and fantasy art and all kinds of stuff where there's high editing. I love to look at stuff like that. But I don't get depressed that my stuff doesn't look like that, because 1, I don't want it to look that way. I like looking at it. I don't want my stuff to be that way. And 2, it's a level of work that is not my style. It's not my type of photography, right? So I know, I'm aware that that's a type of photography I enjoy seeing, but and I might hang that up in my wall one day, but it's not what I want to go out and shoot every day. Another reason behind being so critical is that maybe our photography is too generalized. Maybe it's not specific enough, right? Another way of saying that is maybe we don't have our own style yet. Have you been thinking about honing in on one genre of photography, like maybe sticking to weddings, or sticking to portraits, or sticking to sports, or sticking to animals, or sticking to babies? Maybe this is a good time to do it. Maybe this is a good time to sit down and say, okay, let me specialize in one of these genres. Have you found your style yet, right? If you haven't, there's a video on this that I have. I'll link it in the description below. And I'll put it at the end so you can see it there. But if you haven't found your style yet, don't rush it, but it's time to start thinking about that and looking at other photographers and seeing if there's a style you like, right? Is it black and white? Is it high contrast photography? Is it saturated color photography? Whatever, right? But maybe that's why we're overly critical, is because we're seeing that other photographers have this cool niche that they've found or style, and we don't. So just be careful. Here's one that hurts. Maybe we think we are better than we actually are. Ouch. A way around that is simply take more classes, watch more videos, try new things. Try different types of photography, try different types of cameras, try film, right? Try black and white if you don't. So what that does is it gives us new skills. When you do that for a little while, you become good at it. Do it for a couple of months, for example, say black and white. You're going to learn to look at things differently, because a person that shoots black and white often goes into the scene thinking in black and white, right? You don't just take a color picture, get home and flip it to black and white. I mean, you can do that. Many of us do. But when you know that you're shooting black and white, you go into a scene and you're looking for things that are high contrast, that have patterns or have textures, right? So you frame your picture a little differently than if you were shooting color. My point here is, if we are not as good as we think we are, we have to recognize that as well, right? We have to be able to say, you know, I've been doing this particular type of photography for a while. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought. I was better than all my friends, and I have better gear than most of my friends, but when I look around, there are people that just blow me away. And maybe it's time to just sit down and buckle down and just learn a little more. Maybe the flip side to this is that we've become too specialized. And what I mean by that is, what do I mean by that? Well, you can be too general, right? And then you look at other photographers that are specialized, and then you wish that you had a style like they do, and so you're overly critical. But the flip side is that you've been doing something too long and you're stuck. You're in a rut. And what's happening now is you're seeing all this different type of photography taking place around you, and you wish you had that skill. And what you're doing is you're being overly critical, right? All you have to do is just start shooting different things. I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm sure you're good enough that you are going to make all that stuff look beautiful. And if you're not, we're back to the previous point where you just have to learn a little more. So that takes care of reason number one, being overly critical of ourselves, right? And little things we can do, right? And don't think of just photography, think in life, your day job, right? All these things apply to painting, to engineering, to architecture, to whatever we do for a living, right? Even being a good parent. Being overly critical, and then these things that I mentioned, right? Are we too specific? Are we too general? Are we too... These things apply to everything we do. Reason number two why our photography might not be as good as we'd like, why our photography sucks, I'm trying to be kind, is that maybe we are not in the moment. Now, you've heard me say this before. What does that mean? Well, being in the moment means paying attention, being aware of everything we're doing, right? Digital cameras, and I show you my phone because I don't have my camera in my hand. Digital cameras have made photography easier than ever. And I'm never going to tell you it's a bad thing. It's great that you can pick up a camera, shoot a picture, and move on with your life, right? Even in manual mode, right? Or in one of the priority modes, aperture priority, shutter priority, and other things that are coming up now, like flex modes. It's become easy to just take a picture and move on, right? Adjusting in one of those modes has become easier than ever. So we can quickly make an adjustment because we have a viewfinder or we have a screen, an LCD screen, and we make a quick adjustment, we shoot, and we move on. Worst case, we don't like what we're seeing in the LCD screen, we take another shot. We use our phone many times when we don't have our camera, and that's not a bad thing, right? It's good that phones are becoming such good cameras and they bail us out, right? But it's a good reason to carry a camera, isn't it, right? Because we don't have to rely on these things. These don't let us, as good as they are, they don't let us make really big prints, if that's what we want to do one day, or if we want to present it on a big screen, it's not going to work, right? They do a wonderful job, colors, focusing, everything is great, but they're still very limited. Basically, we're just becoming very accustomed to shooting quickly and moving on with our life, right? So we need to slow down. We live in a hurry, we eat in a hurry, we sleep in a hurry, we work in a hurry, we expect everything right now, and this is the way we've started treating our photography, right? We want everything quick. It has to be, near perfect right away, and we've got to be able to send it out to everyone right away. Was that painful to watch? Was it painful to sit there and watch those words come across the screen at that pace? If that bothered you, if you couldn't resist, like you wanted to fast forward, then my friend, you need to slow down for sure. That was a test of the emergency broadcasting system. No, I'm just kidding. That was a test, and I thought about doing that, and I figured, if somebody's getting anxious watching this, then they definitely need to slow down. Here are some good ways to slow down. I promised I would give you some solutions, right? I've said this before, meditate. If you already meditate, you probably don't have that problem where those words coming across the screen made you anxious. If you're not meditating, it's extremely important. Even if you do 15 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, it's better than nothing, right? Where you just calm your mind and you learn to take it easy and you learn to think of nothing, right? That way you become better at taking your time. And it doesn't just help your photography, it helps every aspect of our lives. Shooting in manual mode is another nice way to slow down because, as I mentioned, even though shooting in manual has become easy because you can keep your finger on the compensation button and just go up and down to make it lighter and darker, it's still manual. You're still going to have to think of a few things. You may have to slow down and say, ooh, my aperture's too wide. I have very poor depth of field here, and I need good depth of field, right? I need what's happening in the street, and I need what's happening in that building behind. So let me close that lens down, right? It's going to change my shutter speed. So these are things that putting your camera in manual is going to make you stop and think for a minute, right? That's good. Another one is just making sure that you have enough time to shoot that day, right? I've done it. I leave here, I know it's a 40-minute drive to go where I'm headed. I say I have an hour, maybe hour and a half tops at that place. I gotta rush back because we have things to do. And then I'm over there switching lenses and I'm not really focused on the photography because I'm thinking I gotta be back by a certain time. And I'm waiting for that alarm to go off so I can pack everything up and head home. That's not a good way to shoot, right? It's actually not a good way to do anything. If we're gonna do something and we're going to enjoy it and we're going to do it well, we need to make time. The last one is, if you want to slow down enough or a lot more, then shoot film again. I say again because I shot film for 19 years and I'm getting back into film now. And one of the reasons is when I go out to shoot with my family, we're walking around apple picking or pumpkin farms or whatever it is. I want to be able to pull the camera out. I don't mind pulling a light meter out of my pocket, measuring light real quick, making a decision, setting my camera, shooting, and not knowing what I'm getting until I develop the film, whether I develop it myself or send it out. It slows me down and it makes me appreciate what I'm doing more. Because when I get it back, I've waited either to develop it or to get it processed. And I'm so happy to see the results. It's like a child getting a new toy, right? And I appreciate the fact, being that I'm shooting medium format, I have 10 pictures to a roll and those rolls are expensive. I may take a roll, I may take 2 at tops. So last time I took 1. And when I shot the 10 pictures, I was very, very happy, very excited to get them back and look at them. And it slows you down because I'm only shooting 10 pictures. I'm not holding that shutter down. I'm not taking 200 pictures, going apple picking and then sifting through them on my computer, picking the best 3 or 4. No, I'm taking 10 and I'm picking the best 3 or 4. If you've thought about it, if you've been thinking about getting into film, maybe this is a good time. Kodak is hiring. Can you believe that? Kodak is hiring. They need to make film. Film sales are starting to climb again. Isn't that wonderful? I'm so excited. So this might be a good time. Get yourself an old camera, right? In decent condition. You can get them for $100 and put some film in it and go shoot. The third reason why our photography might suck is that maybe we don't really understand photography. This is a little different from not being as good as we think, because we may understand photography completely, but maybe we are not taking the time to compose properly. We're not taking the time to think about shadows. We're not thinking about lighting, about, you know, all these other things that happen, depth of field, right? So we understand all that, but we're not thinking about all that. So that was the previous one. Here, maybe our photography is just poor. Maybe we don't understand it enough, and we're sitting down watching other people's work, wondering why our stuff isn't good enough. Maybe we just have to stop and say, do I really understand photography well? In this one, we just don't understand photography. We never picked up the basics, right? The fundamentals. We bought a camera, nice lens. That doesn't mean anything, even if you buy lights. If you don't understand all that stuff and you can't use it well, it's actually a burden. It's going to take some introspective time where we sit down and analyze what we're doing and analyze, compare it to other photographers, and find out if that is the reason. And we have to be honest if that's the reason, right? We have to be willing to recognize that we are lacking, and we have to be willing to make the change. Times are changing, technology is advancing, and it's easier than ever to fall behind. So what's the solution? Well, number one, we need to take time to reflect, make time to reflect, to sit down, to look at our work, to compare it, and to say, okay, what's happening here? What am I lacking, right? I understand the camera. Why am I not getting pictures? Is it that I don't understand other concepts, right? Or maybe I just don't understand the camera enough, right? I have all these numbers on a lens and I never really learned what they were. Let me maybe take a class online. Let me take a class with a real photographer where I can sit down and ask questions. Whatever it is, reflect, realize what it is that we're lacking, and then take the next step to learn. And that was kind of the second part, right? Making the time every night. Instead of sitting in front of the TV, I point that way because that's where mine is. Instead of sitting in front of the TV, I feel guilty now, and I shouldn't get to this point, right? I shouldn't even be admitting this because it's not good. I feel guilty watching TV now because I have so many things I want to learn. I'm getting back into film, to developing all kinds of things. I'm watching videos on editing, on how to edit video. I'm watching videos on how to edit videos better for YouTube, for you guys, right? So I'm constantly learning, and I need more time to be on my computer to learn. So I find that spending more time in front of the TV gives me like this guilty trip, right? A guilt trip where I feel like I shouldn't be doing that. So if you're spending a lot of time in front of the TV or video games, maybe it's a good time to shift your attention and become a better photographer. The fourth reason our photography might suck is simply that we're rushing it. And what do I mean by rushing it? I'm not talking about the rushing that we talked about already, where we were not in the moment, right? Going in someplace, shooting and thinking about heading back home. I'm not talking about that rushing. I'm talking about the rushing that I see even in the workplace today, where a lot of young people are joining the workforce and 6 months later they leave because their career isn't advancing quick enough. And there's a certain truth to that. You want it to advance. Nothing wrong with that. And you want it to advance after a certain time, but we need to be realistic, right? Things that matter take time. Relationships take time to build. Good careers take time to build. And a good skill like photography, painting, sculpting, whatever it is, takes time to build, right? It takes time to hone in. So that's what I mean we're rushing it. Many times we're overly critical with our work. Many times we look at our work and we think it sucks because we're not being patient, right? Like I said earlier, maybe we are where we need to be today. Maybe for what I've put in, for the amount of time I've put in, I am where I need to be. If I was putting in more time, I would be better. I can tell you right now, I've not gone to my martial arts class in months, right? Because life took over and other things are eating up my time, and I need to find a way to get back. Am I where I want to be in martial arts? No. So am I gonna get depressed because I'm gonna do something? I'm gonna do one of my forms, look at it on a video camera and get all, disappointed in myself? No, I can't, because I'm not putting the time in right now, right? So we just have to be honest with ourselves, and if we are not putting in the right amount of time, the dedication, the patience, then don't beat yourself up, right? Because you're not going to be where you want to be. So the cure for that, the solution for that is, again, meditate, learn to slow down, and just be patient. Be patient. Give time, due time. The fifth reason is actually an important one. Although many people will tell you that your photography equipment is not important. I've said that before. It's not as important as we think, but it is important, right? If you have gear that's not working properly, then your pictures aren't going to be as good as you want them to be. If you have an old camera with a low megapixel count and now you're trying to enlarge or you're trying to crop highly and you're not getting good results, that might be a reason to graduate to a higher megapixel camera, to something newer. If you have a camera that shoots very poor dynamic range and you need something that shoots high dynamic range, right, without going into HDR mode because that gives it a funky look. You just need more f-stops of dynamic range, right? Maybe it's time to get another camera. If you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe it's time to watch a video on dynamic range. I might do that. I might do one. So the solution is make sure you have the right equipment and make sure you're buying equipment for the right reasons. Make sure you don't do what I do. I suffer from gas, and that means gear acquisition syndrome. I buy things because I like to buy things for photography. Photography is a wonderful world, and it lets me buy toys. And it doesn't mean it's a good thing, but I enjoy my toys. I'm not hurting anybody, and I just buy toys. So I like trying new lenses, and many of this ends up in reviews for you guys too, right? So don't buy equipment for the wrong reason. If you see that your pictures aren't looking as good as you like them to look, if your camera's decent and your lens is decent, buying more gear is probably not going to make your pictures that much better. Let's be honest. You have to figure out what it is. Is it your composition? Is it your, the lighting? Is it your depth of field? Is it your color? What is it, right? Clean your photography skills first, right? Get them all tidied up and then understand them well. And then when you start improving and you get to a plateau, right? You understand all the skills, you watched all the videos, you understand the concepts, and you hit a wall, or a wall is this way, or you hit a plateau, right? A ceiling. Then you might want to graduate to a higher megapixel camera, to lenses that are sharper, to lenses that are faster, which means they open up wider, right? They let more light. Then you play around with that stuff. Don't do it right away because you may end up wasting money. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you stuck around till the end, this is a photography channel, so we talk about photography, but keep a lot of things in mind, right? If you're going through this at work, if you're going through a slump because you see that your work is not as good as you'd like it to be, replay this video, right? See how some of the things we talked about apply to you. Are you being overly critical? Are you rushing it? Are you maybe falling behind in your skills because you've been doing it so long, things around you have changed, and you didn't realize that other people coming in have skills that you don't have, right? Let me look at my notes so I can see what else it might be. Slow down, right? Do things more thoroughly. Maybe you're speeding through things and your work is not coming out as good as it needs to be. I'm thinking about everything, right? Manufacturing, people that make things with their hands, people that work on cars. I mean, it applies to any field, right? Slow down, do things well, be in the moment, right? Educate yourself, watch YouTube videos, and I say YouTube, but watch videos of any kind, right? Buy courses. There's nothing wrong with spending a little money on yourself. Educate yourself. I don't ever regret. There's things I regret. I'll buy a new lens and regret it for a little while. Gosh, I shouldn't have spent that money. Of course, I enjoy the heck out of it, but I think, did I really need that? I could have probably gotten away with, using one of my other lenses, right, improvising. But one thing that I never have regrets about is paying money for a class, whether it's $50 or $500 or $5,000. I'll put the money down. I'll figure out how to pay it later. But if it's going to help me in life, then I don't mind, right? Adopt that mentality. Learning. Educate yourself in all aspects because everything helps, right? Things that you learn about other topics will help you in photography. Trust me. In all kinds of ways, right? Even how to see things differently. So no matter where you are in your life, and if you're talking about your family life or you're talking about your work, whatever it is, if you're not happy with the results you have, play this video again and ask yourself, how can I apply some of these concepts? Because these are very general concepts. They apply to everything. I do this because I sit down with a piece of paper and I write, right? I read books, I watch other videos, I'll come up with ideas. I'll write all these topics down. It doesn't mean that I'm an expert in all of this, right? One of the reasons I do these videos is very selfish, and I shouldn't admit this to you. It's because every time I do a video, it makes me think, and it makes me think about how to become a better person as well. Because I read all this and I go, gosh, I need to do this too. I am also being overly critical. I am also rushing it. That's why I got into film, because I realized I was running around with a digital camera, snap, snap, snap. Then I'd get home and I wasn't happy with the results because I didn't stop to think. I didn't stop to take it all in, right? To be aware, to be in the moment, right? So doing film for the next 6 months, maybe a year, maybe a couple of years, is going to slow me down. I'm not going to stop shooting digital, but I'm going to focus on film, no pun intended. And then when I get back to digital, hopefully I'll be a lot slower in my thinking, in my adjusting, in my composing, right? So whatever it is you're doing in life that you're not happy with, stop for a second. Just stop. Put everything down. Give yourself 30 minutes, maybe every week. Doesn't have to be every day. Sunday night, when you're winding down for the week. Take a little book, right? And ask yourself, what am I not happy with, right? What can I improve? And how can I do it? Do any of these points help, right? I guarantee they will, but we need to slow down. We need to stop. We need to admit to ourselves that we're not happy about something, and then we need to but we need to make the time to make, to grow, to make changes, to learn, right? So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Whatever you decide to do or not do, don't beat yourself up, okay? You're on the right track. Just be patient with yourself and give yourself credit where credit is due. So as a conclusion, let me know if I missed one. There were 5 because those are the 5 I thought of. I wasn't trying to be fancy with a fancy number. I couldn't think of anything else, but I'm sure I missed something. So let me know if there's a reason you find your photography crappy and you've thought of another reason that I didn't discuss. Please put it in the comments, right, so everybody else can see it as well. If you are going through a slump in photography right now, or if you are new in photography and you just can't seem to take flight, you can't seem to get to where you want to be, I hope this video was helpful. I hope it at least helped in making you realize that it's probably for the wrong reason, right? It might not even be you. It might not even, right? It's just the way that you're thinking about something. And once you adjust your mind a little, you might be okay with your photography after all. And if it is your photography, we talked about a few things, right, that we can do. So I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please like it down here on your left, subscribe down here on your right, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get the new videos coming your way every week. I hope this was helpful. I really do. And I appreciate your time as always. We didn't do a water break. I hope you've been drinking your water all along, tea, whatever it is you like to drink. Please stay healthy, take care of yourselves. I love you guys, and I really am grateful for your time. Until the next video, ciao for now.